Try to see someone you know there, right? Did you walk around the room clockwise or counterclockwise? Did you go to the cookies and try to see, grab a cookie and then look around if somebody's there? That's the same analogy. When you're on the web, you can't see who's there. You can't see who's there. So imagine you were out there, we're sitting there, we're all there, and we turn off the lights. How are you supposed to know who's there? We have to put it right in front of you. So suddenly, and this, by the way, here's how this product was developed. A guy by the name Jonathan Goldman came up with this idea, and he said, you know what, I'm going to write some quick scripts, code it up off the Oracle tier, and he built an ad. And that ad was displayed on the homepage. And what happened? It got massively clicked on. Little data jujitsu, whipped it up real quick, got it rolled out, all of a sudden it's massive click. Now, there's no debate that it's a good idea. In fact, it's such a good idea, the whole social networking world said, hey, you know what, we need that functionality, and they implemented it as well. So it's that common. So you have suddenly one guy suddenly goes out and changes the whole paradigm. One data scientist changes the whole paradigm for the entire way social networking is thought about. That's what can happen with data. Now, an equally important one I talked through about is a little bit about Zynga. Now, what they also use their analytics to do really well is they actually try to figure out how do we get you increasingly immersed in the game. So, because right, if the game is too hard, you're like, this is too hard, I'm going away. Because in the web world, it's too easy to just say, click, close the window, you're done. So you're always fighting against somebody saying, I'm going to turn off this window. That's what you're up against. So how do you build your product in a way that kind of figures out what's going to work well? What's the next step they should take? How do you put gamification? How do you put game dynamics in there? You can't do that without a very, very rich analytics layer and a lot of the tools that go in that. So they figured out a lot of that to do that. And both of these things, they go back to getting a user there and helping them understand why they're there, what value they're going to get. In the case of LinkedIn, hey, there's a lot of people here that you already know, you just don't realize it yet. In the case of Zynga, hey, this is actually really a lot of fun. And the more you hang around here, you're going to realize how much fun you're going to actually have. Now, there's another form that's actually coming up right now around what I call data blogging. And there's a dating site by the name of OkCupid. It's primarily a US-based, I think it actually may be an entirely US-based service. Anybody know? I don't think it's international. So this site is, what they try to do with this site is, it's a lightweight dating site. So you may not be trying to necessarily meet your spouse, but you're just trying to meet new people. And so one of the things, they have all sorts of great data. There's a data scientist named Christian Rudder who's fantastic at pulling through his data. And one of the things he looked at, he realized, he said, you know what, people post these photos there. But we also have a rating system that we could use as a proxy to say how attractive this person is. But when people upload photos, there's something that's really interesting that happens. All photos have metadata. Say when the picture was taken. Some say even where it was taken. So now suddenly you can look at a person's profile and compare it to when was the last time they updated their photo in reality. Right? Because the photo is there. So suddenly it's like, hey, you know, all the photos that you post of yourself are 5 years old. But then people also get to rate your attractiveness because they meet you. So you now can measure the difference between what you post and what actually happens in reality. And they did this fantastic blog about it, about all the some stuff. And then here's what they found. One of them was that the more men as a group disagree about a woman's looks, the more they are likely to end up liking her. Guys tend to ignore girls who are merely cute. And in fact, some men think she's ugly actually works in a woman's favor. Now, another really interesting blog that they did was they had a rating of how often or how frequently people reported they were having sex. And because they also knew what type of device the people were using, you could tell who actually has more sex. Is it iPhone users? Is it BlackBerry users? Or is it Android users? And so they came up with this really, really rich set of data, and they come up with these fantastic posts. And here's the amazing thing. These posts are so good, they get automatic coverage. They get automatic pickup in all the major media outlets. And because of that, it's not only free advertising, but it helps explain the value proposition of the product. that it's about dating, it's about interesting, what the demographic is for that dating. And so through this process, you suddenly have a mechanism to reach out and get all sorts of interesting things done. So here's an example that we did at LinkedIn, which is after the collapse of the financial industry, we put together this graph of where did people go after the collapse of the financial industry. And so these are all the different companies that people went. And this got amazing pickup for a couple reasons. One, because everyone at that time was saying, oh, the Wall Street guys are going and building roads, or now they're going and becoming farmers. But it turned out that's not true. They're all ending up at other companies. And so through that process, we were suddenly able to, was not only interesting to me as a data guy, but also incredibly interesting to the rest of the world. And through that, it got a lot of pickup. Here's a great one. This was ended up on the front page of the Wall Street Journal about how job titles are changing. So about this new title, Ninja. And so we put together some quick data on that. And it turns out ninjas are on the rise. Right? It's amazing. Right? Now, who's not winning? Well, Guru's not doing so good. It's okay if you're still an evangelist. Now, what's cool about this? You can't really buy the front page of the Wall Street Journal. That's one of the biggest business publications in the world, especially in the US. And here we are on the front page of it. And they're featuring a story about these titles, and LinkedIn is the centerpiece. So all of a sudden, we have massive data pickup. We did another one, which is what should you name your kid if you want them to be a CEO? We know all the CEOs and we know their names. Where does that get picked up? It gets picked up not only just in the US, it gets picked up internationally. All the major papers, all the major TV shows, everybody reports about it. You know what that marketing spend would look like otherwise to try to get that traction? And also, people say, well, that's a commercial. No, that's actually somebody reporting about it. So suddenly you're using data to explain your value proposition and getting other people to really find it interesting and share it. And they're not just the other ones. There's another new company called UberCab, and they just posted a great one about San Francisco and what they do is they basically allow you to, on your phone, basically say, hey, I need a car, and anybody that's a private limousine driver can see that on their phone and then come pick you up and take you somewhere. And so they actually compared it to demographic information and able to show like where people are going from and to. And it's a really fascinating post. I highly recommend it. So the second one, funneling users into other products and preventing dead ends. How many times do you actually go to a product or you're using a product and then you go there and you go, great, oh, I finished that, now what? You turn it off, right? You just close the window. Well, that seems stupid. You could use data to change that whole way. The best people in the world that do this, or the first ones that really did this, is a company called Amazon. They have this thing that actually is there. If you go land on any page, it says, people who bought this also bought. It's phenomenal. Just a little bit of lightweight collaborative filtering. But all of a sudden, any page that you end up, you just did a search on Google, Yandex, whatever, you end up there, and then all of a sudden you look at it and you say, oh, okay, well, great, I saw this. It's like, oh, wait, no, there's more pages. You too can see this page, right? So all of a sudden, they've also realized, wait, you don't have to just stop with people who viewed this, viewed that. You can do people who bought this, bought that. People who viewed this, bought that. People who bought that, viewed this. Right? All the variations. And it turns out there's good utility for all of those in different parts of the site. People who also bought this, and this. Right? They even start to bundle it. So now all of a sudden you're giving people, you're taking your data and you're returning it back to the user in this very powerful way that not only changes the way people interact with the site, but it also helps with conversion. You're helping with finding. A very, very important aspect of being able to do that. On LinkedIn, we have the one that is people who viewed this profile also viewed this profile. And these things are just lightweight. And building this collaborative filter, by the way, this isn't rocket science. It's not crazy hard. But what you can do through it is all of a sudden you can get massive lists on your page views. So it's a very, very powerful functionality. So the third one, targeting users through alternative channels. This is a very web-based one. And one of the good examples of this is email. This is an email that went out at the end of the year, last year. How many people on here actually got this email from LinkedIn? A couple people. How many clicks did you put on it? Don't remember? So here's one of the interesting things. So this is the email. What it says is 2010 was a year of change. 363 of your LinkedIn connections started something new. Here's a few of them. And it puts all their pictures. And it says, see Patrick's new job. Where's Nathan? And Ellen? So what does this email do? I contend that this email has the highest click-through rate, CTR, of any email that has ever gone out that does not use naked people. Why? Why is that? Well, the first thing is it's got pictures of all people you know. These are all people in your connections. Second is it's telling them that they've changed jobs. And if you see somebody, you're like, wait a second, they changed jobs? Now all of a sudden you have a fear of missing out. Fear of not knowing what your network is up to. You're taking advantage of the asymmetry of information. And you're putting it in a digestible form that is beneficial for the user. That's the key message. We're not trying to exploit the user here. We're adding value through data. So this type of email, you're going to click on it multiple times. You're like, wait, I need to know where Ellen went and where Patty went and what Maisie's doing. All these things are really important. So suddenly you can take your data and create this incredible value proposition out of it. The fourth area, finding, search, and recommendations. One of the critical areas right now, and there's two of the examples that you can see there. One of the ones that is great is Google. When they do type ahead, how fantastic is it now? How snappy is it? So if you're doing a web-based property, the speed at which you got to have your type ahead work is that fast because they have trained all the users to expect not only a type ahead, but it's got to be good and it's got to be quick. All really, really important things. This is an example of that Netflix flow of recommendations. And one of the things that Netflix did that's great is they had this prize called the Netflix Prize to help them actually build their recommendation engine. And so it tells you what they recommend. And now, this is one of the interesting, so these are my recommendations, which you can tell pretty much I have kids, so I have Toy Story recommended, and I don't know why I have that recommended. But so there's also times where sometimes our recommendations do go funky, which is a challenge. And I'll talk more about that. And the fifth area, so I said four, but there's really five. The fifth area is what I call full-blown data products. And this is an area where we're just starting to see new products come out. And this is the area where I think I'm personally most excited about. And this is an example of one that I think was one of the first or early, what I call full-blown data products. This is a product called Career Explorer. And in this product, what you try to do is it says, well, with LinkedIn, you have all this historical data. So shouldn't we be able to tell you where you could be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Yeah. Now, how great would it be to be able to actually interact with that data? Find a way to visualize it, a way to share with it. And so what this does is it lets you build potential careers. It's a product primarily for students. So you can choose different things. This is one that says you go student to flight instructor to pilot. Here are other people with this title. Here are the jobs. Here's where the density inside the US of where they are, the age demographics, other people that you might be interested in connecting with for that, some information. So great product. It also includes salary information that's brought in from other sources. So all of a sudden you're taking data not only from your system, putting it together, but also from other systems. Now why does this turn out to be a hard product? Well, where do you think you're going to be in 5 years for the average of the world? It's your current job. The most probable job that you're going to be in is the same job you're in. So that's not an interesting result. What people want to know is what's the potential. And when you're talking about potential, you're no longer going to the mean. You're going to the extremes of the distribution. Now, here's where it goes wrong. You can say, hey, you might go from flight student to flight instructor to pilot to nurse. You go, well, that's a terrible result. But is it? Because you're talking about the extremes. Maybe that's a good result for one person or not. So how do you start to balance what is weird from a subjective perspective to what is the right from a data perspective?